Your has been.
It's the only one that had a taste. Oof. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the Sab Sabra
Unlimited
Sab
Sabre.
and Dunham from Talbury. A little Obi, a little Annie, a little a little bit of
Yeah, I was gonna say Anakin.
a little bit, a lot of the grips going on, right? It's
I did the
cool.
saber and the droid.
I didn't get to do the droid. It's cool. It's a cool. It's worthwhile.
Yeah.
You can either spend like a bunch of time figuring out what you want when you get there. It's like a little menu that they have, or you can spend all the time you want trying to figure out what you want way beforehand.
Did you do
Um,
that? Because I went without knowing what they had.
I've looked at all of the sets like a bajillion times, and even when I got there, I was like indecisive, and I just kind of like felt it out, and I was like, I don't know. Honestly, it's really more about the
Yeah.
experience, and like it's
Yeah.
cool that you can make a custom saber and
Yeah.
everything. Um, yeah, no, it's more about the experience really. And the coolest, I mean, the toughest part really was picking the color, just the initial color
Yeah.
just to like tie the experience together. I'm like, what colors can I use
Oh,
from the
such a
start?
oh, that's
I
tough.
agree.
Because how do you? And then you're like, yeah, I get that.
I went with green. It was a good
I
choice. Green's a good choice. Green, blue, or red. I probably would have.
Adam, it's been a while since you went, but
Yeah, I went in October. I also went with green. I agree with everything Chris said. It's definitely worthwhile. A lot of people online will tell you, like, if they're Uber nerds
mm,
or I don't know, more elitist than I feel about
ooh,
it, they'll tell you that it's
ooh.
not worth it because you can spend about as much to get a way nicer saber on the internet, apparently. But
Listen,
like
listen.
Chris said, it's way
That's
more about
true.
the
Um,
experience.
I
Uh,
100% agree with you. And I didn't get to do that, but I will say, even though I didn't get to do it, I really like I because the whole experience altogether when you walk into Galaxy's Edge, you see the ships just sitting there hanging out. Like everything is just Star Wars all of a sudden. Like you're just in
yeah,
Star Wars all of a sudden. So it's like, yeah, when you're there, you got to do it if you can. So here's the thing, guys. If you do go to Galaxy's Edge, book that shit right
the
away.
saber thing in advance.
Book it
Yeah,
all
you
in
have to have
Yeah,
advance
it like
very in
six
and do
months
advance.
in
it
advance.
like
When I got there, there were people trying to get in and they couldn't.
no, do it
They were
on the
like, "We've been
day
booked
because
since
I
like
tried to book
yeah,
it 3 days after I 3 days after a year before. So you have to like when you know you're going, immediately book it because it fills up right away. Fills up right away. But there's also a
yeah,
place that you can get a saber. That's where I got mine, and you can get pre-built ones and they're character ones that are made. So I got the Darth Maul
Yeah.
one. This is the Shadow Darth Maul one here. So this one
oh, that's
was
cool.
yeah, this one was pretty cool. I love it. And also I got the clip um so I can put it on my belt and when I get home from work I immediately put it on my so yeah, no, best part was I was down in Florida on vacation and I had gone to Galaxy's Edge and I got uh, the helmet too. Adam, you grabbed one of these too, right?
No, I didn't
No.
get a helmet.
Oh,
I got a
okay.
droid and a saber.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I got the helmet too, and so I was sitting down near the pool, drunk, wasted,
Wearing your helmet.
and I had the helmet on and my
With the
saber on my
helmet, yeah.
hip, and a guy was like just looking over at me. He's like, "You're just You're living your best life right now. I was like,
You're
I
living the
really am,
dream.
sir. I really am. You don't even understand. I'm living the life. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. Galaxy's Edge was amazing, and if you can and you get a chance to go and you're a big Star Wars nut, it's worth it. It's worth the trip. It's like the pilgrimage. We're all trying to figure out how to go together, and if we do, we're definitely doing an episode when we get down there. Like we have no choice. We'll figure out how to
that'd
do
be
one.
cool.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we'll have to do one. But yeah, guys. So we all have now seen Obi Wan. I assume that's the only reason why we're here. No, that's not the only reason.
That's why I'm here.
I genuinely miss doing this, and I've been it's so weird that maybe you guys feel this too. Maybe I'm not the only one, and you'll have to tell me and make me feel like I'm not alone. But I feel like there are times where all of a sudden the whole world is paying attention to Star Wars, but we are like, it's a part of our lives all the time, all the time. So it's just weird when all of a sudden all the media and people that normally don't care, they're all like, "Oh, you hear about the Star Wars thing?" You're like, "Yeah, of course I have." And you're trying not to be that guy who's like, "Adoy, have you not why have you not?" It's amazing, yeah, of course but with the Obi-Wan show coming out, I feel like, and all the media that they've been doing recently, and then the Star Wars celebration in Anaheim, there's been so much Star Wars stuff in the news. Do you guys get do you feel weird when everyone else is jazzed up about Star Wars, or is it just me being a baby?
I like it when people are jazzed about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, it brings negativity out of the woodwork too, but it also brings fans, and Star Wars for me is a social thing. I like Star Wars, and I like enjoying Star Wars with other people. So
yeah,
I like it when other people that aren't my brother likes Star Wars fine, but he watched Obi Wan too. So now we can talk about Obi Wan,
right?
And that's pretty cool. And all the stuff they announced, it's almost overwhelming the amount of content they just announced.
It was great. They just dumped
movie,
so much.
the shows.
I was trying to figure out how we were going to cover it all in one episode, and I don't think
crazy.
we can. I think we have to.
I don't think we can either. We're going to have to do two. Yeah,
yeah, we're going to have to split this episode
absolutely
up.
Agree. But yeah, I like it when people are into it. I agree that it kind of gets a little bit I've already been here, but it's also nice to be validated.
It's welcome,
actually
welcome back,
excited.
Guys. Welcome back.
Yeah,
I've been here this whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Chris, did you? I know you've been busy, but have you heard? But I kind of wanted to do a quick. I don't know. It's so hard. Maybe we should. I don't know. So much stuff came out.
What are you trying to say, man? Spit it out.
So much stuff came out that I want to go over, maybe some of it, because I know, Chris, you said you didn't get to see as much of the stuff that came out of Star Wars Celebrations, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, oh well, maybe we could cover it and catch Chris up, but it's a lot, and I really want to talk about Obi-Wan.
I mean, we could just run down the list and not talk about it in detail. And
then so
next time.
Most things I was most excited about. How about that? So, most excited about one, just seeing Hayden and Ewan together.
Yeah, Hayden and Ewan together was pretty cool.
Was amazing. Yeah, that was incredible. So when you have time, Chris, you got to go on YouTube and check out just the interview. I mean, the one thing I was kind of annoyed about was that the crowd just wouldn't let them talk, but I would have been pretty stoked if I was there too, so I get it. But the other thing I can say I was actually pretty excited about was seeing Adam, help me with her name. Ashley Eccleston, right?
Oh, yeah.
Who plays
Ahsoka,
yeah. Seeing her and Anakin meet for the first time, or Anakin, Jesus Christ, Hayden meet for the first time was pretty cool.
There's a couple of pictures of them lined up with the pictures of them in real life, and then the parallel, them standing in the same position as their cartoon characters. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really awesome. That was really awesome. And then the new the trailer for the new Fallen Order game looks amazing.
Yeah, that looks good. Cassian Andor looks better than I thought it would. I'll be honest, I was not excited about the Andor show, and that looks really good.
I wasn't either, and I'm really happy about it now.
Ahsoka. They're doing that.
I can't
That
wait for Ahsoka. Oh,
the
I love
Dooku. What's the
Rosario
other
Dawson.
Dooku and Ahsoka like animated anthology show?
Oh, I didn't.
Um,
Okay, so this
where
I
they're
didn't hear about this part. What's this?
all right. So this I forget what it's called, but I think it's 4 or 5 episodes coming out in the fall, and it's alternating episodes of Ahsoka as a youngling, as a Padawan, and fighting the sixth brother after Order 66, and then Dooku as a Jedi before he fell. And it's
Mm.
gonna have Obi Wan. It's gonna have Obi Wan, Mace, Qui-Gon, Bail
Oh,
Organa.
uh,
But
uh,
Liam Neeson is reprising his role. He's gonna
ah,
voice
ah,
Qui-Gon,
ah, ah,
and then his
ah.
son is gonna voice young Qui-Gon. So
What?
Liam Neeson's real life son is going to
No
voice
way. Are you
the young
serious?
version of
Oh
Qui-Gon.
my god.
Yeah, I'm serious. I just read about this while I was pooping, so you're welcome for pooping. And
Oh, it pays off for
uh,
all of us, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah,
Adam pooping. Thank you so much for pooping, dude. I appreciate you
so that's
evacuating
going to be
Royal
bowels.
awesome.
flush.
And then royal flush. And then what's the other thing? Shit. And then next year there's the movie, and Taika Waititi, or however you pronounce his
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
is doing the movie.
Oh yeah,
So that's sick.
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. It's
So
going to be
much
pretty
stuff.
awesome.
There's thank God we're back, huh? Because you guys would be lost without.
Oh,
Dude,
we have a lot to talk
you're
about.
so
The
welcome
comics
for
too.
us
I've been
returning.
reading the Obi Wan comic. It's awesome.
Yeah. I've been reading the book. They just released a new book.
Oh, that's the other show. They're doing an Old Republic show similar to the book.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
High Republic. High Republic. They're
High
doing a High
Republic, yeah.
Republic.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I've been listening to
And
the
Jude
Obi
Law's
Wan
going to be
and
in it.
oh, so I guess it's not new. It's been out for a little bit now, but the Obi Wan and Qui-Gon book. It's like when they were
Master and Apprentice.
yeah, he was Master and Apprentice. It's
Oh
called,
yeah, it's been out for a couple years. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's been out for a couple years, but I've been not reading it, but listening to it, the audiobook, and yeah, I just I'm so pumped. There's so much to go over and talk about, but we can't do all of
Oh,
one
and
episode.
Mandalorian season 3. Is in
Mandalorian
spring.
season 3. And then
And it looks like Bo-Katan's going to be the main bad guy because they showed him
Yeah.
like walking down a hallway and Bo-Katan sitting on a throne.
yeah, of course she's the main bad guy.
that's
And you
gonna
know
be
what we're
crazy.
gonna see? We're gonna see. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Okay, we can't get into Mandalorian season 3 quite yet. We're gonna have to have a whole episode where we do some predictions and talk about Mandalorian because I'm so excited for that because of all the characters and the possibilities of the ways like Ahsoka. That show has so many directions that can go.
Yeah.
Anakin might be back for that. Again, Andor. That show actually surprisingly looks way better than I thought it was going to be. Again, like you said, Adam, I wasn't really. I was like, okay, sure, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but
I'll
then
watch it because it's Star Wars, but I don't like Rogue One that much compared
I
to
love
everything
Rogue One.
else that I do love
Rogue
about
One.
Star Wars.
I
And
will punch your mouth.
yeah, it looked awesome.
I will punch your mouth for saying that. No, I love Rogue One and I hate Adam. So yeah, let's get into Obi Wan. But before
Yeah,
we do,
baby, my dream. Oh, you
before
mean
we do, I wanted to say that this show was for us. This show was 100%, and I know that like we've a little bit talked about this before, just when we're talking about personal lives, but like being like the kids who grew up with the Clone Wars and all the prequels, like those were our movies as kids. So like this show was 100% for that generation of kids who were like adults now. We're in our 30s ish, and our first Star Wars experience, a lot of ours. I mean, for us, I know for me, my first was like the originals, but for a lot of us at this age, your first Star Wars experience were the prequels. And they were for kids, so all those complaints that people did have about them didn't really apply to us because when I was a kid, I liked Jar Jar because I thought he was funny because I was a kid and it was for me. And I thought pod racing was awesome. and wanted to be a pod racer when I was a kid because thought it was the coolest thing ever. So,
It's
this show, yippee! This show is 100% for us, and seeing Obi Wan back as Ewan McGregor and seeing Hayden again in Anaheim, because I think, and I've seen stuff about it, because Hayden, obviously it's well known that he fell out of acting almost because of Star Wars, and was like, bummed out about how Star Wars fans felt about him back then, and now, he's fully embraced as like the awesome dude that he is and everything that he brought to the character. So I think it's cool to see like people appreciating the prequels for what, and we've always, since we've done Talking Sith, have always said we love the prequels and never have given them any hate, and have always. So now that they're cool again, I just want to say again, you're welcome for coming back, and you're welcome for being ahead of the curve and knowing that the prequels were going to be cool again. We were aware of that, So, but Obi-Wan, oh my gosh, it's so hard to even know where to start with the show. First off, I guess we have to get overall impressions of how we felt about the show in general. I'm nervous because I'm afraid. I don't know. I hope you guys liked it as much as I did, but I loved it. What did you guys think of the first episode? We'll talk about the first episode and see how deep we can get into that.
Go ahead, Peach.
First one was good. I like the first one. Yeah, definitely good introduction to the world, to the characters, the main characters. I was iffy at first about like the vibe and some of the acting.
Okay.
Some of the characters that came in later on, but it all sort of went together after a little while. I sort of like understood what was going on a little bit more. But yeah, I liked it. The first episode was good.
Adam, I want to talk more about that character thing that you mentioned, Chris, eventually. But Adam, overall, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was nervous because I was super stoked about Boba Fett and then pretty disappointed.
Yep.
So I was, Boba Fett was good. It wasn't like it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was just that the potential to be the show, like you said at the beginning, the show that we all wanted when we were kids was so great because the Boba Fett parts of Mandalorian were pretty cool. So we were like, all right, this is going to be what we've been waiting for 20 years, 25 years, whatever. Yeah. And I thought that it missed the ball in a ton of different ways.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't as good as it could have been.
Besides the last 3 episodes, it was hard. It was a lot to get through. Even
those were like they were okay. They were just, the potential was so much greater than the outcome.
Yes.
And Obi-Wan, there's no greater potential, I think, than to do an Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit nervous that it would fall into that category.
Yeah.
And same thing with Mandalorian. I know Mandalorian's good, and I like Mandalorian, but the bad parts of Mandalorian I legitimately don't like very much. Yeah. So it was kind of, I was just scared. But I will say that the first 2 episodes have been my favorite Star Wars thing Disney Plus has done. And
I agree. Besides season 7 of
which I didn't watch. So yeah, the only because I have to catch up on Clone Wars. Man. I know I don't have that context, but in terms of what I have watched, and especially of the live action stuff, I thought it was by far the best.
Out of the live action stuff, 100%.
Yeah, the Mandalorian's cool episodes are really cool. Like the stuff with Luke is really cool. The stuff with Ahsoka is really cool, and that makes me excited for whatever they do. When they do drop the bomb with something awesome in this, it's going to be unreal. If it's Qui-Gon or if it's, when it's Vader, not if.
We have so
whatever
much to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever they end up doing is going to be sick. So I'm stoked.
This show is so
cautiously optimistic, but then the closer it got, the more excited I got. the trailer made me extremely excited. The trailer I thought
I
was
had
one of
not
the
been
better
this
trailers they've ever
excited
done.
from a trailer since The Force Awakens.
Me too. The Force, and it's funny because two of my favorite soundtracks in Star Wars movies and trailers, either one, were the Force Awakens trailer and the Obi Wan trailer. The sort of
The soundtrack through this entire first 2 episodes was incredible.
That was actually my. So I agree with Chris. I do have one iffy feeling about just one character, which is okay.
Okay. We're getting into it. Let's do it.
And then I actually had one little tiny note about the music.
Yeah,
that's a pun. Note, get it? Because the shows don't have John Williams, and there is always one. And similar to the movies when they did Solo and Rogue One, and they didn't have John Williams. There's always one tiny part that I'm always like, oh, if John Williams was scoring it, I know exactly what we'd be doing right here.
Okay. We have so much to talk about because I know the exact moment you're talking about. I know the exact part that you're talking about. Before we start this, the greatest thing about not doing this live anymore and that we do pre-recordings, ladies and gentlemen, is I have to pee. So give me 5 seconds. I'm sorry. I got him at him about pooping. I have to pee so bad. Give me 5 seconds. I'll be right back. Sorry, guys.
What would you give it out of 10 each? The first episode.
I'd be like a 9.
Did you like the first one or the second one better?
It's tough because they were almost like back to back when I watched them. So
yeah, they were like one episode. I agree.
They were really. It was a good idea to put them together because they were really.
It made me like, I can't believe we have to wait a week for each one. I would have binged the entire season that day if I could.
Yeah, no, 9.
I think I like the second one slightly more, but you're right. They're basically one episode. I just liked.
All right, we're back. Sorry, we're back.
Like
we are back.
Things,
to go. We're back. Sorry, guys. Let's jump back in. So yeah, I know the exact point you're talking about. So there's so much to get into.
Which point is it? Dude, you're out of breath. Are you okay?
I had to run up the stairs. It'd be so bad.
Oh my god.
So bad. I had to go so bad. I ran so fast. I felt genuinely bad about keeping you guys waiting, so I had to pee really bad. So
you need a ventilator.
I really do.
What was the part you think I'm talking about?
So the part that I think you're talking about is, okay, so from here, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen the show, spoiler alert. 5 seconds.
Oh,
If you haven't
we
seen
already
the show,
talked about spoilers while you're repeating.
There's no reason that you would even be watching this Talking Sith show if you haven't seen the show. But if you haven't seen the show, spoiler alert. One more time, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. The part with young Leia, little baby Leia, is that the part?
Oh, interesting.
So,
no, but I did feel the vibe there too.
Yeah.
But I think that because I had already felt the vibe, I was already kind of like, this is going to happen to me throughout the show.
Right.
The part that I was talking about was at the very first time you see Obi Wan. You don't see his face, but the camera like pans across his back.
Yeah.
And I think that if John Williams was doing it, there would have been a little, like a little Obi Wan cue in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. It was silent.
Yeah.
And the camera just sort of panned over him. And I think that one of the things I love about Star Wars, especially the original trilogy and the prequels, is that like every time there's a screen wipe or the camera moves a little bit or the perspective shifts, there's a little harp or flute or a little musical change that goes with it. And some of them are specific to the characters to the point where you can track a character's cue throughout the entire series throughout different. I feel like Obi-Wan would have had a little mysterious trill on the harp or something as it panned over his shoulders. But you're right about young Leia too. As soon as it got to young Leia, but I think because I had already experienced the first one, it didn't jar me as much as the first one did.
Yeah, that was the one that I caught where I was like, ooh, I would have put like a tiny bit of Leia's theme. In there when we
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's start from there as far as it goes. My overall, I loved it. It's
Score it out of 10.
uh, 8.5.
The first episode.
Eight and
a half.
okay, first episode was definitely like an 8.5. I really liked it. There were some things that I was iffy on. I agree about some of the acting, so let's start talking about it. So I think as far as like characters go, we met a lot of new characters. If you haven't been watching the cartoons and catching up via the video games, then the Inquisitors are new for you. But if you have played the video games and watched the cartoons, then you know, at least have an idea of who they are. So we've got introduced to them. The third sister, right? I believe that was who it was. The third sister.
Yeah.
So, oh gosh, it's so much to catch up on. So if you've seen the episode, which you have, if you're listening this long with us, you know what's going on. As far as like, let's talk about the things that we kind of felt weird about at first, and that was the only thing. The acting of like the third sister, it took me a second. I was like, it took me a minute to jump on board with her like motivations and, you know, kind of her intensity. But once I kind of was like on board, I was like, all right, I'm feeling it. But I don't know. I know, Chris, you said there was like some characters you weren't completely sold on at first. Were they the Inquisitors? Who were they?
Yeah, actually, when I went back and like thought about it, instead of just like picking them out separately, I realized like it's pretty much all the Inquisitors. And maybe just like the way that they bounce off of each other too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like seems a little unnatural, a little too forced, a little bit like because I mean they're all. I get it because it's like Star Wars, and you're kind of like a cheesy villain in Star Wars, and like there's three of them all in the same scene together. Yeah. How cheesy can you make it without out cheesing the other person and making it all actually feel cheesy, even though it's like, you know, how does it feel? How's it supposed to feel real? And I feel like they all really did. They did a good job, except when they were being to each other, like with each other, like,
right?
Which was, I don't know, it just felt weird. And yeah, I don't know. Her character's motivation, Riva, it's definitely a little weird. I don't get it yet. I'm not sure what it is yet. Like
Riva, yeah, Riva's
I agree,
name, yeah,
100%.
What does she care about Kenobi for? Like, I still 2 episodes in, I don't get it.
Yeah, if it was Darth Maul or something, you'd be like, okay, cool, I 100% get it because of the information we already have. Right. But she was kind of. It's weird because I agree with everything you just said, Chris, but I also, that kind of thing, the acting part of it doesn't normally get me as bad because it is a TV show, not a movie. So it's not like you're going to have Christopher Lee and, you know, huge names playing each villain. It's going to be TV actors.
And it's so much
and then
harder
you're going to have Ewan McGregor. So, right. Yeah, absolutely. It's harder to play a villain. So, and Chris is right. The source material is almost inherently difficult to act because it is a little bit cheesy and it is Star Wars, and you know, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah.
I will say the way the Inquisitors felt to me was super comic booky.
Yes.
Like
it felt like to me it felt like an episode of the Clone Wars, to be honest.
Right, yeah. Especially the I don't know which character it is, but the blue one, the Asian dude.
I can't remember which brother he is, but he's one of the Inquisitors. Yeah,
he was the one where I was like, if this was a comic book, this dude would be dope. So I'm okay with watching him be a little bit less than dope live action.
Oh, you need
if it was
to
a comic book, he'd
in
be
the game
sick.
You're playing, sir. Get a little bit farther in that
game
you're playing.
Yeah, I know.
Get a little bit farther in that game you're playing, sir.
He was cool, but I agree with everything about Riva because she's the one where even in like another form of media, she doesn't really fit into me. Like the Empire doesn't accept the kind of things that she is, which is like breaking up the efficiency of the group by, you know, arguing and being a subordinate. It just doesn't seem like something that would come out.
It's so much to talk about.
Setting.
Let's get into this. Okay,
First Order.
So
exactly. The way that they're run is not. It's not Hux. It's Vader and Tarkin in their primes.
Yeah.
So like you wouldn't have Inquisitors arguing with each other, pinning each other against the wall, being like, "You need to put your motivations in check."
Yeah.
That just seems out of place for that setting. If they were arguing in like a training room and then they had to go out or something,
Mm-hmm.
that's different. But they're out there in the world being intimidating, and that takes away from it a little bit. I will say I do like I guess we're going by episodes, so this might be getting ahead of ourselves, but the episode 2 reveal that she's just going to murk that dude in the second episode instead of making a season-long thing, that part I thought was cool because ambition and the dark side go so hand in hand with each other that I thought that was neat. Like the fact that she's willing to kill her
that's
superior.
very cool. But that's second episode.
That
so let's
cool.
not, well, because we'll get into
general,
that for
I was
sure.
kind of not on board with it, and I agree with everything Chris said. I'm still not sure about her.
Yeah.
She seems like she could have been kind of pigeonholed in just to get her character in and not really in line with what we know the Empire to be at this point in the timeline. But, the jury's still out. And honestly, all we're waiting for is Vader to show up. We all know that we're just waiting for the one thing.
Yeah.
So everything up until that point is just salad dressing. We're just we're waiting for the big thing to happen.
Yeah.
So until then, it's kind of, as long as you don't mess it up too bad as a bad guy, then you're kind of just along for the ride. But Star Wars, the movies have such a depth that
Mm-hmm.
each character, you want to know each character's name and their history and their planet and everything. And the shows just don't have that. So you kind of have to, I think, compartmentalize, how you react to it. Because if it was a movie, I'd be angry. But because it's a show, I'm able to be like, it can be a little bit cheesier than I would want a movie to be, I think.
Yeah. I think, coming from having watched Rebels and the Clone Wars and having to deal with that cheesiness before, and like you filter it out and take it for what it is. You know what I mean?
Right. And at least it's not Boba Fett where the whole thing is cheese.
Just ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, that part of
ball
it is
cheesiness.
Because I was so scared. I'll be honest with you. I was really scared it was going to be.
So
really
let's get into this, guys. So the opening, it opens with a recap. I know that's silly, but I thought it was worth talking
cool,
about. It opens with a actually like really heartwarming recap of like Obi Wan and Anakin's relationship. And like, how'd you guys feel about how the show started? I know that's kind of like a basic question, but honestly, I've watched a ton of like videos on YouTube and stuff of guys who like string together these like really like like emotionally driven kind of cuts of, and it felt like that to me, like this really
it reminded me of I think it's at Disneyland, the Path of the Jedi thing. It's kind of like a short movie you can watch, and you sit in a theater and watch it. It's like 15 minutes long. But it's like a super cut of all these emotional, Star Wars moments. And like, it really is legitimately emotional if you like Star Wars. And it kind of reminded me of that, where it's, it's like when a band has an encore and you're kind of just like, I've loved this for 30 years of my life now, and I get to love it again now. It's really cool.
Yeah. It was totally like useful too. Like,
it was
totally
nice.
Works.
Yeah.
And
it showed you what was going to matter now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It showed you what part of this show is going to be significant and what stuff.
I thought Qui-Gon showing up multiple times in that was definitely significant. Yeah. Like when you talk about like.
Yeah, it made me think that if he's not in the show now, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. I wasn't expecting him before. I was thinking he might show up, and it might be a little. Legitimately.
They ended that, so I thought it was significant enough to point out that they ended it with that whole sequence. With Yoda saying, like, I'm going to teach you how to contact or like, keep in touch with your master, basically.
And that's what I mean. It set you up to look
Which
out
was
for
a line
that.
from the
speculated about that, but now we're like, okay, this is what they're actually explicitly talking about in the recap of the first episode.
Yeah.
So we know we can look out for it.
Yeah. I thought it was great. And then so we go from this great opening to finding ourselves faced first off. So is this, and I'm only wondering because I know, Adam, you said you had attempted to watch a couple episodes of Rebels, and you're playing right now. I can't remember now if he's in that game, but is this your guys' first encounter with the Grand Inquisitor, or have you seen him?
No, I've seen him before. He's in this game, but also I've seen him in general. He's in the comics too.
Chris, have you seen him before in anything else?
Um,
Because you haven't watched Rebels, right?
oh God. Oh no.
The fourth.
No, I haven't watched Rebels. I watched Clone Wars, but not
Okay, yeah.
Rebels.
So, what was your
But
first impression of him? I was wondering because if you hadn't seen him before, I was wondering what you thought of him.
I
Initially.
mean,
Because I already have so much context as to who he is that I feel like my opinion of it might be different than yours.
he was sort of cool, but it's like I don't know, just because of that first scene with him, it just made him seem sort of like underwhelming after the first intimidating thing that he did. All of a sudden, like,
It's undermined
I got a
immediately.
knife.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Why do you always have to throw a knife at everybody?
Yeah.
Just trying to... Nobody's not on every planet. Like, come on.
Why are you always throwing knives everywhere we go? I've told you about this. It's ridiculous.
I mean, not that it was comical, but like it just made it seem like, oh well, she doesn't give a shit about this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Who
It
is
was
she?
like I
Like,
said,
oh,
it was
I don't know who
ill
she
at
is.
place to be. Like that's my one thing about it is like I agree with everything Chris said. And he's an intimidating character. And I like
I feel
that
like he should be, right? Like,
he gets
got a good name.
murked so quickly. It reminds me of Thanos in the whatever the last one was.
Yeah.
Not the Infinity War, but the Endgame.
Yeah.
When he dies right at the beginning, everyone's like, "Oh snap! We thought this was going to be a whole movie type thing."
Yeah.
When the dude dies right in the second episode, you're kind of thrown for a loop a little bit. But I agree that any of his badassness was a little bit mitigated by the fact that he allows people to argue with him. If it was Tarkin or Vader, she would have died right then and there, and it would have been over, and that would have been.
So the issues I think with the Grand
as
Inquisitor and with the Inquisitor in general, not the issue, is that they actually have someone that they have to answer to, right? Or versus Vader, who the only person he answers to is Palpatine, and Palpatine's whole thing is do what you want, just be terrified,
right?
Just as long as you're the terror weapon that I need you to be, do whatever you want. I don't care. Because he also knows Palpatine's main goals, Palpatine's motivation, so he's always on plan, basically, on goal. Whereas I feel like the issue that the Inquisitors have is that they're competitive with one another, and they also have a hierarchy within the military that they actually have to answer to. So that I feel like changes how they deal with people in general when they're handling, because like you said, Palpatine or Vader would have been like, did you not just give me the thing that I wanted? Because if that's the case, I'll just kill you. We'll just do it that
right.
way.
Vader would have choked her out on the spot.
On the
no
spot. Like,
hesitation.
did you disagree with me? Like, are you stupid? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I run this. Or the Grand Inquisitor. So having watched Rebels, the Grand Inquisitor, like my first impression of him was the impression I had when I saw Cad Bane in the Book of Boba Fett was like, this is awesome to see this character come from animated to real life now. And then having that context of how he treated the rebels and how dogmatic he was and how absolutely ruthless he was in going after the rebels, I was like, oh, these villagers and these people on Tatooine have no idea what they're about to deal with. Like, this guy does not. The one word I can definitely apply to the Grand Inquisitor is tenacious. Like, he does not give up. He doesn't quit. He's like, his name is perfect for him. Like, he is like a detective to the absolute fault. Like, he will sniff out a lead, until it's absolutely exhausted, and he's terrifying in that regard, like, because he just refuses to give up. If he thinks he has something,
kind of like Boba Fett's supposed to be.
Exactly, he won't let go on that.
Kind of like Boba Fett.
Yeah,
should have been.
And so when I saw him get there, my first impression was, these guys don't know how. Like, if there's a Jedi there, he's about to find them, because he does not give up or quit. But I agree with you. I felt like that weird insubordination thing. It's like that's not what we know of the Empire. The Empire is very rank and file. It's if you don't follow, because the Empire exists on order. That's how it works. The only reason it works so well is everyone listens to the person they're supposed to listen to, and everyone follows in like files within the rank they're supposed to be, and that's how the Empire works so well. Is that everyone is in line. So it isn't what we know the Empire to be, and it's weird that it's like I would have been like, chick, you can't wait till after we're done talking to this dude and to talk about this. Like, you're gonna interrupt me when I'm in the, like I'm doing something, and you want to like throw the knives and like, yeah, I agree. It was kind of like that undermining, but I also feel like it does set up the motivations for her and like kind of like her like how ruthless she's gonna
Her
be.
ruthlessness.
Her
Yeah.
ruthlessness, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
kind
agree.
of what they're trying to set up initially. So we go from the Grand Inquisitor and the Inquisitors showing up to eventually seeing that Obi Wan has been hanging out, basically trying to make a living for himself while he's watching over Luke. So like I don't know. How'd you guys? So your first impressions of seeing Obi-Wan again? Like, how was that for you guys? Was it as awesome? I don't know. I totally had like a little like. I don't know. Sitting and watching the show, I felt like I was back watching Attack of the Clones again when I was a kid. Like, it was awesome for me. Like, I felt it was so cool seeing Ewan McGregor reprise the role. I was just so happy to see him back. But as far as like where he's at in life and you know his overall kind of like I gotta lay low, I have to like I'm not who I used to be, you know, what were your guys' impressions on Obi-Wan, where he's at, how he's feeling, you know, overall, how'd you feel seeing him again?
Oh man, I felt it would they like presented it perfectly. I felt like they showed like just enough of everything. You know, it was like a couple days worth of like you got to see the same exact routine over and over,
Yeah,
and almost knew exactly what he was going to do every single day.
yeah.
And you
So let
saw
me
like the
let me actually rephrase the question
little
because
parts of his day. It's crazy.
we got to see, so Chris, we got to see like the return of uh Luke in the newer movies, right? Like, and that was awesome. So like compared to that, like how like stoked were you to have Obi-Wan come back? Because I'm like that, like I felt like the build up
Well,
to
super
build up to
stoked.
see him
Like,
again, and then the payoff for Luke didn't match up. Do you feel like the build up to see Obi-Wan again,
sure.
and then the payoff when we actually saw him and his station in life and what was happening, like the payoff was worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. And even more so, like as you like, you know, just throughout the first two episodes anyway, as you like got to know him a little bit more on where he's at, you just like I don't know. I was right there with him. I just like it was so good. You just like knew even like he doesn't believe that he's Obi-Wan
Mm-hmm.
anymore at all.
Yeah.
It's only been 10 years and he's just like I don't really I just like my camel
Yeah,
thing and I like you know
I felt
coming to
like
meet
that
every
was
day and fuck
the
Yeah, I
that
most
thought
shit.
that was
Obi-Wan thing that he was doing
It's
out of
crazy.
everything was cutting that little piece off and giving it to his little thing. Like that was the most
Cool.
that was like the little tiniest we could still see that he hadn't let go of the Jedi yet. Um but yeah, as far as
Maybe the
that like
Force,
build
maybe
up
that's
and
like a little
payoff goes,
you know.
Adam, like did you feel like this was it paid off for you to see him again and where he was at and what was going on with him?
Yeah, I was I didn't think about it in the context that you described the build up and payoff for Luke versus this. I didn't think about it that way. I was just stoked. I was just glad and happy and just sort of enjoying it in the moment. And I agree with what Chris said. It was interesting, kind of not have his mojo, which I think is a cool choice for the show because we're gonna get to see him get it back at some point. We're gonna get to see him have that moment where he, reignites his lightsaber,
We haven't
or
seen it yet. That's the one moment I'm
right,
like, I can't wait.
yeah, or uses like a Jedi mind trick or something like that.
I was waiting for it on that rooftop, man. I was like,
I was waiting for it.
The cool thing is the show knows we were waiting for it too.
Yeah.
Like they were kind of playing us a little bit. So I think it's neat that they went the route of him not having his mojo. I like that they showed the Monarch life without, beating it to death. They could have wasted a whole 2 episodes on that, like Boba Fett did, and they didn't. And so I really like that it was kind of quick, but also effective. And I really liked his interaction with Owen. I thought that was cool.
Yes.
Kind of exactly what the trailer showed.
What do you think about overall? Think about
I really like
Owen's performance, like the guy.
That's what I was going to say. The stuff they showed about Owen as a character is
so good.
I really liked. I liked how he stood up to the Inquisitor without doing it for Obi Wan, but doing it in general. I really liked.
Did we
Owen
talk about how he
other
nailed
than
the
Bail
voice?
Organa coming up? I think Owen was my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh
he
yeah,
nailed the voice.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's a good. Joel Edgerton's a good actor anyway. But the only part that like really made me go, oh yeah, was when Organa showed up. When that happened, like
seeing Bail was amazing. Seeing Bail was amazing. Yeah.
So I like freaked out for a second anyway, but then when he actually showed up, it was
because we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, especially when we started. So I will say my favorite moment in the whole episode, besides the very beginning where we saw like a part of the purge, I just thought that was really interesting. Like I was like, the way it was shot for one was really cool. Like from that camera angle,
it was cool.
Cinematically it was amazing. And then anything with Clone Wars era stuff, I just like it. My nerd boner goes crazy. But like the other part that really got me was seeing young Leia, like that, being the biggest Carrie Fisher fan in the world, and then the biggest Leia fan, like seeing young Leia actually, that hit me way more than I thought it was going to. Like, because I didn't even think about it. Yeah, that was
cool. And I honestly didn't expect
I didn't expect it. I didn't even think about that. And it wasn't that I did, like, because it was one of those things that when it happened, I was like, oh, of course. Of course. Like, why wouldn't we see what's going on with Leia as a kid? But then I was like, oh my God, it's so good. And then she was just as feisty, and I'm always so really weird with actors as kids, because like acting as a kid is so tough anyway. It's like there's always holes in the performance just because they're kids. But overall, I thought that the girl they got to play her was awesome, and that she did a great job, too. And that the overall like attitude and her relationship with Bail. Oh man, that part hit home, or just like hit a note for me. It just made me miss Carrie Fisher, like super hardcore.
Yeah.
It made me miss Carrie Fisher a lot. I was like, man, that was awesome, because she would have loved that. She would have absolutely had loved that. So yeah, that was my favorite part, hands down. But when it all got started, my overall impression was just, I was so like, I was just happy to see that it wasn't. It was like the direction they were going made sense, but I was like, all right, you're gonna surprise me as well. Like, you're gonna throw things in there, or throw things in the show that I might not be expecting, or like possibly take it directions I might not go. Like, for instance, I thought like little things. So like the Jawa coming in and doing like the trading stuff. I love little stuff like that. Like, that was awesome. Like
that's what makes it Star Wars to me, is the little, the everyday life stuff is really cool. And I agree. I think that, one thing the show did really well is that it knew our expectations, and it kind of messed with them a little bit by giving us stuff we didn't expect and not giving us stuff we might have expected. And I think part of that, like I said, was a little bit affected by how I received Boba Fett. And the Boba Fett show did a lot of things I didn't expect it to do too, but not in a good way. Whereas this Like I was expecting sort of 7 episodes of
Yeah.
Tatooine. So for them to immediately go to
Yeah.
Alderaan and immediately go to
How sick
Goy
was
or
it to
whatever
see
that other
Alderaan, dude?
called,
How
like
freaking awesome was that?
yeah, that was
That
cool
was
to
sick.
show Leia was awesome. Like lots of stuff that I wouldn't
Yeah.
have anticipated that fit is really really cool. So
Seeing
I
3PO,
really dug it. I
3PO
really
like
liked
in the
it.
background, that was
Yeah,
awesome.
3PO, R2D2. Yeah.
It's like I know because it's expected, right? Like you expect to see these characters, and I almost guarantee that Adam, Chris, help me with his name. I'm just blanking because I've been drinking and
C3PO.
all day. The one who plays 3PO, the actor himself.
Oh, Anthony Daniels.
Yes, $20. He was actually the guy in the suit. Even for that moment,
Oh,
that
absolutely.
1 second, it was
Well,
definitely
it's
him.
like Tamira Morrison being the clone for the 2 seconds that there's
Yeah.
a clone there. Like,
Right, that was sick.
it was awesome and totally unexpected, but at the same time,
Totally expected,
you know,
right?
you
Like you
can't have done it
totally
any other way.
are like, oh, that makes sense for where it's at. So as far as the episode itself goes, storyline, plot line goes, I'm really excited to see where it goes because, I was in it. The whole Leia, and again, you've already been warned, spoilers. The whole Leia getting abducted thing or kidnapped. I didn't expect that at all.
By Flea. When Flea showed up, I was like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah.
that was the reveal. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
Yeah, and so and then like the references back to Padme and like how much Leia is like Padme,
Yeah.
like that kept like totally like I didn't
It was really cool that she was a reminder of Carrie Fisher and of Padme and of Anakin too. She reminded me a lot of young Anakin, and I really, she was perfect. She was well cast. She was really well written. You're right when you say that, you know, there's always going to be some gaps in a child actor, but that didn't bother me even a little. It was really a good addition to the show as a character. And like I said, she looked perfect. She was dressed like her. She had the hair. Like it was just really,
it was great.
She had the sassiness and the attitude and the
kind of wise beyond her years type thing going on. Which is like just key awesome for Leia in general. But yeah, so at this point in the story, we're just seeing where Obi Wan is. There's these Inquisitors after him. So in episode 1, because I'm trying to make sure we don't bleed too much into episode 2, because I want to fully cover episode 1. So after we see Obi Wan, he's chopping up the stuff. We meet Leia again, or for the first time as a young kid. She's 10 at this point. Her relationship with Bale, I thought, was incredibly interesting to see parts of that, and to see how close they are. And I thought it was great to see that little, Lola was its name? The little droid she had in her pocket. And it shows like why she always had such an affinity kind of for droids to begin with. But part of the show I thought was like, that was really interesting that I didn't kind of expect to see was the influence that young Leia and young Luke have, that kind of turned them into who they are. Like, I was expecting to see a lot of things in the show, but that was one thing I wasn't even thinking about, because at one point Obi-Wan leaves a toy for Luke, and his whole thing is like he needs to know that there's a bigger galaxy out there. I thought that was really interesting, kind of add on.
And it's the same toy he plays with in the new.
It's awesome to know. Like, so, so part of what I was thinking, and I'm wondering what you guys think about this, is that how cool it would be if Luke's whole thing about wanting to like see more and do more has all this time had been planted by Obi-Wan. That would be so awesome.
It is interesting, and I think it's cool because, you know, Obi-Wan was kind of the the stickler for the rules when it came to his and Qui-Gon's relationship. So it's cool to see him sort of be rebellious. And I agree with what you said about him influencing who Leia and Luke would become. I thought it was kind of interesting how Leia and Luke influenced. Luke makes him be a little bit more reserved and conservative, I guess, and not want to expose himself. Whereas remember, sort of who he is and
seeing them together,
what
was
it means
like,
to be him.
it made my heart so happy.
It was really cool because it's the first time in canon it's really been discussed. You always knew he knew Luke when Luke was a kid. Luke was familiar with old Ben and A New Hope. But Leia, the first time you see Leia, she says, "You fought with my father in Clone Wars." You don't know that she actually interacted with him.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see them actually interact. And I watched A New Hope actually after watching the first 2 episodes, and it was kind of cool to watch it with that context and wonder if older Leia remembered her, because 10 years old is pretty old.
Yeah.
So you'd think she would remember her interaction with him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she doesn't time. But I don't know. That part was interesting to me. I just can't wait for every episode. I can't believe we have to wait a week every time.
I know. I can't. You know what? I will say I'm bummed we have to wait a week every time, but I'm glad we're just back to this where there's there's this throughout the week. I'm just that excitement, that build up of being like, I can't wait to see the next episode, and then we get a chance to talk about it again.
Yeah.
Because I can see the one thing that really does bum me out more than anything is this is a limited series. That's true. The biggest bummer of all of it. But yeah, so after we meet Leia or see Leia as a kid, we have that super tense moment with Lars or with Owen and the Inquisitors and everything. And Chris, I know you said you were kind of feeling funky about the acting and some of the characters. Was this kind of that part for you where that was happening? Because
no.
I don't know. I kind of I felt the tension, but I was kind of like, wow, man, she keeps undermining these guys, and I don't know. What did you think?
I mean, no, honestly, I don't know. I felt like that with Owen specifically. The guy that played Owen is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I agree.
Can we talk about the fact that she chopped off a person's hand? And I was like, oh, this show is for real.
That was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
We don't have to talk about that. It was fine. It was like,
but I just also the fact that
what's gonna happen.
The fact that it's kind of a theme in Star Wars to get your hand chopped off. I was like, oh, nice.
And someone's gonna say I have a bad feeling about this, and someone's gonna lose a hand. That's the Star Wars rule.
And I'm waiting for it to trap.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Next thing someone says, I'm gonna chop their hand off. I got a bad feeling. What did I tell you?
And then chops off their hand. Oh my gosh.
No, actually, I really liked that. The whole scene.
Yeah, I did too. And it would be easy not to, because there isn't much of a. Obi Wan's going to survive that scene.
Yeah.
Owen's going to survive that scene. The outcome overall. So it would have been easy for it to not have the same sort of feel. But I was like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Is someone in the crowd going to get murked? Is someone, is Obi Wan going to have to duel all these guys? I legitimately still had the tension without the tension, if that makes sense. But I really, I thought that scene was awesome. Really cool.
I think it really does set up kind of how Owen, it's really cool to see
how he becomes the old man we know.
Yes, yeah. I loved it. I loved every bit of it, and I thought that it was the only part that that I'm was kind of weird about was that she's being openly defiant. But I also was thinking to myself
over and over.
Over and over, to the point where I was waiting for her to get killed. I was like,
but I
maybe
also was thinking to myself that
so
for the Inquisitors, their direct line of who they answer to is straight to Darth Vader. Darth Vader is there,
right? And he's gonna want that sort of ambition.
The way that she was handling things is how he would have wanted it handled. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
all of that talking and like, oh, we'll give you a reward and all that other stuff. That's not Darth Vader's way. Darth Vader's way is pressing you. I'm going to press you and press you
Yeah.
and press you until you're so against the wall that you have no option to other than give me what I want. And so I think that her ambition and the way that he kind of pits them against each other is actually, it's on purpose. It's to get the best outcome, because that's the Sith way. That's the way that Sith do things. It's,
Right.
Um,
I agree with the part about ambition. I just don't think that being openly insubordinate is the most efficient way to hunt Jedi. Ranks while on missions.
Yeah.
That's the part that I didn't find to be, particularly believable. But the ambition part of her character I thought was really interesting and, like you said, accurate for, especially not a Sith necessarily, but a dark side user.
Yeah. To if you, because the whole idea of being a Sith is if that you're more powerful, then it's your not just
right. Then you take over.
It's your obligation and duty to take over.
Right. It's the next step. Yeah.
It's necessary because as a Sith, it's your job to rule over people who are less powerful than you, or if you're a dark side user, it's your divine right, honestly, to do it. So at least that's what they believe. So I thought that aspect of it was dead on. I thought that was great. And then also I just thought it was interesting at the end of that scene. Obi Wan was kind of like, I really like, thank you, and he was like, I didn't do it for you, and I really thought that was cool because it does show how much like, I feel like the scene where Luke finds his uncle and aunt burned up, which like totally traumatized me as a child. When that happens, I felt like it's like these little things that make Star Wars stuff that we've already seen mean more. And it's like knowing how much
deeper,
Owen cared about Luke, that like really hit home. I was like, oh, Owen loves Luke. Like, he genuinely cares about him and like wants to protect him from the outside world. And so when you rewatch A New Hope and you see that argument at the table where he's like, oh, I want to go out and do more in this, and he wants to keep him on the farm, that also starts to feel like it has more weight to it because of a scene like this. I thought it was awesome and hit it dead on.
I agree.
So we go there, and then from there we go and we see Bail for the first time. Chris, did you freak out as much as I did?
I was excited. Honestly, I was still like in shock. I was like, "Oh man, we get to see Alderaan finally."
Yeah. I was.
And so I knew, like, honestly, in my head, I kind of was thinking something was going to happen with Leia, just because there's really only a few key elements for these main characters anyway, and we only knew so much. So I'm like, something's got to happen with Leia, because we know nothing happens with Luke.
Yeah. So by this point in the show, we had already seen that kind of dark figure.
And the foreshadowing
in the woods
was real,
when she had gone out. So we kind of are like, we knew from then, like, oh, something's gonna happen with her. And I assumed from then she was gonna get snatched up. But I just was like, I was curious as to who that was. I thought that was gonna be a bigger character reveal, like it was gonna be someone we already knew. I kind of almost was glad that it wasn't, because I was like, all right, cool. It's nice to get new characters and not just reuse characters over and over again. But so by this point, we did kind of know, all right, well, something's going to happen. But I will say, because I'm so bad with actors' names today, but the guy who plays Bail.
Flea. The guy who plays the Snatcher?
No, who plays Bail.
Oh, Jimmy Smits.
Yes, he actually voiced Bail in the cartoons as well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So
he's an incredible actor. He's in the West Wing too, which is my favorite show ever. But
he's an amazing actor.
He's so good.
He's an amazing actor, and he loves the fact that he's a part of Star Wars. And I love it when actors love that they're a part of Star Wars and that's like their character, and like refuse to let anyone else touch their character. I think that's awesome, and that's how he's been. He's like quietly always been the guy who's played Bail, and who's done the voice, and now he's back for the show. And it's those little things that just make Star Wars, like, for people who have been around and been in it for so long, amazing. And then for people who are just getting into it, as they go back and they digest everything, it's like, oh, this guy's been the guy since forever, you know? So there's no confusion as to who's who or what characters are. It's amazing. Right. I love that about Star Wars. And I just love that the people who play the characters really love that they're a part of it and they come back and do it again. So she gets kidnapped, and now we get to a point where we're getting towards the end of episode 1, and Obi Wan has to make this choice. And obviously we kind of know what direction he's going to go in. But Obi Wan has to make this choice. Does he go help Bail? Because Bail requests, hey, can you help me out? And I thought that was really cool to see him, like, go back and find his old, communicator and stuff. But when he goes back and he has to make the decision, does he have to kind of go back to that life one last time and help out Bail and kind of possibly give himself up? And then in that, possibly give up where Luke is and, kind of blow this whole thing? Or does he sit still and kind of keep doing what he's doing? So we obviously kind of have this idea that he's going to go because, again, him slicing off, he still has these pieces of Jedi in him that are obvious. Yeah. So that's where he's going to go. But, yeah, that's kind of how the episode kind of finishes up, and we see him kind of go towards the ship after he makes the choice. But how'd you guys?
That was there were 2 parts in the first episode that I was kind of meh about, which is the only reason I'd say I gave it an 8 out of 10. And one of them was The Other Jedi.
Oh, sorry, we didn't talk about Inari yet.
I liked him okay, but his interaction with Obi Wan seemed unrealistic. Like he wouldn't have been that stupid, and Obi Wan wouldn't have been. I don't know. It just seemed like a weird interaction. Yeah. And then the second part that I thought was kind of TV show righty was Obi Wan's choice, because I thought it was very, very obviously a trap, and I think that Obi Wan might have thought it was a trap too, and then made the decision anyway.
It's a trap.
But the fact that he
I was waiting for him to say it's a trap.
No, but the fact that he was surprised that it was a trap kind of was not very Obi-Wan-y to me, because Obi-Wan's already fallen for those traps before. But more importantly than that, he's admonished Anakin multiple times for falling into traps like that. So it was so obviously like being pulled, like the strings were being pulled by somebody trying to get to Obi-Wan. It was so obvious that I was kind of a little bit surprised that I didn't have a problem with him going, but I feel like he should have been like, this is a trap, Bail. If you want me to go, you need to understand this is a trap set specifically for me. Not you just walk in and then be like, oh shit, this is a trap. So that was the only part for me that was kind of meh. But the fact that he went, I don't have a problem with. I thought it was badass. He showed his lightsaber a little bit, obviously.
He had both of them in there.
For the camera and for the customs agent. He's like, oh, hey, look, I'm a Jedi. Yeah. But it was sick that he dug up the lightsaber. I thought it was cool because I thought about it right away. But you know what's interesting to me is that he dug up Anakin's lightsaber, right? And he gives it to Luke in A New Hope, obviously. But what's really interesting is Rey later buries it in the end of Rise of Skywalker. That's she buries Anakin's lightsaber in that same exact desert. So I kind of a cool little, circle of life moment. Digging up the lightsaber was cool. His communicator was really cool. I love the little, like the T-16 model that Luke has in A New Hope, and the fact that you see that reminded me of like Force Awakens when you see the little training remote for the first time. Like just little stuff like that I really like. But his decision to go wasn't an issue. It was really just that he wasn't like, dude, this is a trap, but I'm going to go anyway. That I was kind of bummed about. But it was awesome. It was the Leia stuff was cool. Flea was cool. I wasn't expecting him to be in it, and the fact that he was, but also wasn't terrible. Reminded me a little bit of Bill Burr being Mandalorian. Like you can have a celebrity in the show and have him still be cool and not ruin it. Was pretty cool. So I dug it, but That was the one thing. That and the other Jedi. The Jedi was kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he survived that long by being an idiot.
Yeah.
And he drew them right to Obi Wan. I'm surprised.
How did he find Obi Wan?
Right. Obi Wan was like, "You found me in the middle of the desert." And also, what the hell, dude? Luke's here. You gotta get away
why are
from
you
me.
here? Yeah,
And
like
instead,
you gotta go, dude.
like,
you have to go. Yeah, that drove me crazy.
I'm not the guy. Yeah, and then he could have been like, "No, you need to leave. You don't understand how big this is." Instead, he was like, "No, I'm not that guy anymore." So I think that Obi-Wan was toying between not being that guy anymore and being that guy, because his argument with Lars or Owen is about wanting to train Luke. He's like, "Dude, I told you I got to train Luke someday."
Right.
But in every other argument, he's like, "Oh, I'm not a Jedi anymore." So which is it? Are you going to train Luke to be a Jedi, or are you going to be totally swearing off the Jedi?
I think 10 years deep
like
now,
that
it's
dug up the
confused.
lightsaber. Yeah. I like that he dug up the lightsaber, but I also don't think he would have buried it. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the fact that he didn't even think that it might be a trap was the one thing to me that was in both episodes. The one thing that was non Obi-Wan to me was that it didn't even cross his mind that it could be a trap. But other than that,
I think
I
so. Chris, did you my thinking was, and I wonder what you think about this, is that the reason, because I agree with Adam, is that I was like, why did he fall for this? Do you think that this time, like a decade, was enough for him to kind of maybe shift a bit? Like, he isn't the Obi-Wan he used to be. So Obi-Wan wouldn't have fallen for those traps 10 years ago. But now, 10 years alone, 10 years by yourself, 10 years, like, doubting everything you've ever known or everything you've ever been deep, that might have been enough for him to make decisions he might not make 10 years in the past.
Yeah, I mean, he probably doesn't have like a lot of the precognition using the Force, use that shit too much anymore, if at all,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a broken.
I agree with that, but I also think that he's got to be constantly on his toes to not give himself up to the Inquisitors. Like, he knows the Inquisitors exist, and to not give himself up for Luke's sake, and feel like he's got to be always on. And that was it was obviously a trap. And like I said, if he had just been like, "This is a trap, but I have to go," I would have no problem.
Yeah.
But he was like, "No, I guess I'll go," and then he's like, "Oh shit, that's a trap for real."
Yeah.
That part was weird to me. But I do think that it's cool that he's rusty in terms of, like, when he caught Leia, like, it actually put a strain on him. That was cool to me. Like, the fact that the Force, he had to practice calling on the Force again, not using the Force because he doesn't want to be detected.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's cutting himself off.
So that part of it was right. That's got to be so painful for him because it's meant so much to him. And also the fact that he, like, when he calls out to Qui-Gon, "You now," and obviously he gets crickets back. That part was really cool to me because it shows, like, Obi-Wan doesn't remember, like, the earnestness you have to feel to be using the Force that way.
Right.
Like, you have to use the Force selflessly if you're going to use it for that sort of thing. And he's trying to use it selfishly. And I think that was really cool to see Obi-Wan lose himself in that way. But to lose himself from, like, a not realizing it's a trap way didn't make sense, no matter how long it's been.
Yeah.
To lose himself from the Force was really cool to me because it's been so long, and like I said, he's got to be on his toes to hide. But the other part was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. So what I got from that whole thing was, especially with him not, like, having to take a second to draw from the Force, is that for the first time ever, I feel like we see an Obi-Wan who's afraid. And, we all know
that was
fear
awesome.
That's the path. So I feel like...
Yeah. And she says, I can sense your fear. That was badass.
Yeah.
that part was really cool.
And when she says that, now we're getting into the second episode a bit, but I think that to me, as we end this first episode, was the most interesting thing, is that for the first time, because in all instances, it doesn't matter what it is, Obi-Wan never seems afraid. He's never afraid.
He's always very sure of himself.
Always. Even when he has to do something he doesn't necessarily agree with having to do, but if he knows that he has to do it. Obi-Wan we've never seen a scare, even when he has to die, even when he has to, like, sacrifice himself to Vader, he still doesn't do it in
Yeah.
fear. He's never afraid. So this is the first time ever I feel like we're seeing a scared Obi-Wan. And I feel like
I think
that in itself.
I agree. I actually think that we've seen him scared, but only when it concerns somebody he cares about.
Yes.
Like, he's scared when Anakin turns. He's scared when
Yeah.
Padme's hurt. He's scared in the Clone Wars when the chick he cares about is going to get killed by Darth
Right,
Maul.
yeah.
Darth Maul's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to kill her. And I think that's interesting because, like you said, the path is fear, and the path is also attachment. And that's one thing Obi-Wan, and we've talked about this on Talking Sith before, but Obi-Wan's always been like the model Jedi, the ideal Jedi,
Right.
except for his attachment to Anakin.
Yeah.
And I think that he shows fear in these episodes, and both times he shows fear, or all three times he shows fear, they have nothing to do with him. He shows fear when it has to do with Luke. He shows fear when it has to do with Leia. And he shows, huge fear when it has to do with Leia. And then the part when he's most afraid is when he finds out Anakin's alive and hunting him. That part's crazy. And like the fact that he's scared shitless, not just that Anakin's alive, but that he almost failed Anakin for a last time by not killing him is incredible. Incredible Star Wars. So like that part to me, the fact that they're playing off of his fear and not just making him an old hermit or a badass is so cool to me. That part
we're
is awesome.
seeing like a broken Obi-Wan, which is interesting. Which is
human.
Which is again so like cool. Expected but unexpected because
it's way more interesting. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But again, there's a couple of things we talked about that do happen in episode 2, and we'll get into that the next episode. And then that episode will try to cover a bit of what happened in Star Wars Celebration, some stuff that's coming, because there's a lot of stuff to be excited about. But it's been an hour, so we'll have to go. There's just so much. I knew we wouldn't be able to cover it all. There was just no way. Like, there's just so much stuff to talk about, and this episode was packed full of such good things that I know we'll probably still talk more about episode 1 when we talk about episode 2. But like I said, guys, it's so good to be back. We are back fully. I don't care what we have to do to make sure we do this regularly. We'll make sure we do it all the time now that we can. I'm excited to do it again. I'm Chaz. Chris is the one next to me, and on the one next to him on there, that's Adam. And I can't believe that we actually have a freaking Obi-Wan show. It's amazing. There's a live action Obi-Wan television show. I mean, it's amazing. I can't believe what we're getting. The fact that it's good,
it's like it could have been so easily bad.
Yeah.
And
then also, can we talk about the fact that and I don't know if you guys have watched it yet, but if you haven't, go do it. If you guys get a chance, Chippendale Rescue Rangers on Disney Plus.
Oh, I've heard it's
really good.
I gotta watch it.
I watched it with Amber and the kids today. When you guys get a chance to watch it with the kids, go do it. It's really good. It's really funny. It was awesome. It was really
There's too much stuff that came out, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. It came out on Carly's birthday, which was also
congrats again. Happy birthday to Carly, and congrats on your anniversary.
But we made popcorn and Coke like we were going to the movies just to watch Obi-Wan. But she was like, "You're always going to associate our anniversary with Obi-Wan." I was like, yeah, that's true. But like Obi-Wan came out, the Bob's Burgers movie came out, Stranger Things came out, and Top Gun came out.
That's right.
Everything came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I will say there's a lot of good stuff, but if you get the chance, Rescue Rangers is almost as good as like the first episode of Obi-Wan. Like, it was really good. I was really impressed with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys.
I heard it was Lonely Island, right?
Yeah, basically. It was really good.
Yeah.
I don't even want to spoil it for you guys because of how funny it legitimately was. Like, it was actually really good.
I heard it was really good.
You guys got to go check it out. Not only that, but like I said, a lot of cool stuff came out of Anaheim Star Wars Celebration, so we'll have to go over all of that. And there's just so many cool things happening right now to distract you from the madness that is the universe that we live in right now.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm just happy to be back again. We're talking Sith, and our and we are on Happy Memorial Day as well. Eat
us.
Sweet.